All right, this is the video to finish up the last few tables of the credit card section. So we have a $5,700 carryover balance on a credit card with an 18.7 APR and a minimum payment of 5% of the new balance each month. Complete the table and find the carryover balance for month 4. So we're starting out in this month with a balance that came over from the previous month of 5,700. The interest so I'm going to go ahead and write this down here. The interest that we're going to find is based on that APR. And remember, we want it to be a monthly interest rate, not an annual rate. So we do 5,700 times 0.187, which is that percentage as a decimal, divided by 12. So let's get our calculator out. 5,700 times 0.187 divided by 12. That's going to be rounded to the nearest hundredth is how we usually do these. It's 88.83. So that's my finance charge. Your new balance then is to add that finance charge to your carryover balance. Plus the 88.83. That's 5,800 or 788.83. So 5,700 plus 88.83. And notice you're only going to be typing in the final answer when you do these on newtons. You don't need to show your work part on that. All right, the minimum payment is 5% of this new balance. So we're going to take 5% of this new total. So we'll multiply that by 0.05, and that's what this person would have as their statement's minimum monthly payment. So that's going to be, to round it to the nearest hundredth, would be 289.44. So they're going to pay this payment. They're going to try to stay in good standing. So they're going to take that new balance, which had the fee added on, minus the payment, because they're going to pay part of their debt off. And that's going to equal our carryover balance for the next month. So 5,788.83 minus 289.44. That's going to be $5,499.39. Okay, go ahead and carry that over to month 2. So still in debt, just a little bit less than before. So we're going to do the same process. We're going to multiply this times the interest rate as a monthly rate, which is why we're dividing it by 12, because it was an APR, which means annual rate. So times this by the 0.187 divided by 12. They're going to pay $85.69, and then an 8 after it will round this up to 70s because the 9 is going to bump that up. So $85.70. Add that to that carryover balance. So $85.70 plus 5,499.39. So that's 5,585.09. 5,585. It's hard to memorize and write that. 09. So we found that, remember, by adding the previous carryover balance plus the interest rate. Okay. Or the interest fee, I should say. And then we need our monthly minimum payment. So we're going to take this new balance. We're going to times it by 5%, since that's the credit card's rule for how they figure out your monthly payment. Minimum monthly payment is $279.25. We're going to stay in good standing and pay that off, at least that part of the debt. See what our new balance is going to be. So 5,585.09 minus 279.25. That'll be 5,305.84. Okay, that'll be our month 3 carryover balance. And we're going to do the process again. So I'm not going to write all the work this time. I'm just going to write down the answers as we go, because you have enough to go on that. So times this by the 0.187, divide it by 12. Round that to 2 decimal places. That'd be 82.68. Now, since we're doing this in Newton and you're gonna have to round each step, you will start with 82.68 and an actual rounded form for the next part. Add that to the balance we had carried over. That's 5,388.52. Figure out the minimum monthly payment by taking 5% of that. That'd be 26943. And then we're going to subtract 26943 from the new balance. So 5,388.52 minus 269.43. They now owe for that month 4 carryover balance is 5519.09. So that was what we were looking for, carryover balance for month 4. Now in Newton, it'll have you filling in multiple blanks. So just make sure you are being really careful with your rounding, because one rounding mistake can throw off a whole table. All right, let's look at this one. Mo has a $1,200 carryover balance on a credit card with a 21.98% APR and a minimum payment of 7% of the new balance each month. Same thing, and we're going to complete the balance and find that carryover balance for month 4. So I'm going to show less work on this one and just kind of show what you would be typing into Newton for your blanks. Just because the process is the same every single time for those that you're just doing the interest and then you're making a payment. So 1,200 times that percent as a decimal will be 0.2198. Then we divide that by 12. That's 2198. We add that to our 1,200, which is pretty easy since it's just going to add to the end of it. We need to take 7% of that to figure out our minimum monthly payment. 0.07. That'd be 85.54. Then we need to subtract the 85.54 from the balance that we just figured out. Let me move this over a little bit. There we go. So 1,221.98 minus the 85.54. The new carryover balance for the next month is 1136.44. Okay, write that down here. That's our starting balance for month 2. Then we're going to times that by the interest rate, 0.2198. Make that a monthly rate by dividing it by 12. And that's going to be $20.82 when we round it. We're going to add 2082 to our previous carryover balance. So 1136.44. That's 1157.26. Need to figure out 7% of that for the minimum monthly payment. That'd be $81.01 because that 8 does bump up that 0. So 81.01. We'll subtract 1157.26 minus the 81.01. That's going to leave me with a carryover balance of 1,076.25. Bring that down. Get our finance charge for this next month. So 0.2198, times it by that, divide that by 12 for the monthly rate. That's $19.71. We're going to take the carryover balance from the previous month, add that fee of $19.71 to it. That's $1,095.96. The minimum monthly payment is 7% of that. That'd be $76.72. We need to do one final subtraction of the balance minus the payment to figure out our carryover balance for month 4. 1,019.24. So this would be the carryover balance for month 4. Okay. All right, we have one more, and it's a little different. So let's look at what some of the differences on this one. It says Pat has a carryover balance of $4,000 on a credit card that has a 17.99% annual percentage rate. So again, that's our yearly rate. Pat has a reoccurring purchase of $95 each month. So no matter what, like having your Comcast or your, AT&T bill, something is on there that's $95 every single month. So that's going to get charged to the credit card. And Pat, even though they may have given a minimum payment to Pat decided on their own that they're always going to pay $250 every single month. So that may not be the minimum payment imposed by the credit card, but it's what Pat has set up as their standard of how they're going to pay it. So let's look at that first interest charge. So we have $4,000 times the interest rate 0.1799 as a decimal, divided by 12 for the monthly rate, since it was a yearly rate. That's $59.96. The 6 is going to bump that up to a 97. So $59.97. When you have a purchase, you're making more debt on your credit card. So we're going to add the bill that they carried over, the $4,000, plus the interest they get charged from the credit card company, plus they're charging an additional $95 on their own to their card. So that makes this new balance 4154.97. Okay. And again, we don't have to calculate the minimum payment. Pat has decided on their own, this will always be $250. Maybe their credit card gives them a pretty low minimum payment and they just know they're not going to pay it off that way. So 4154.97 minus the $250 payment is 3904.97. Okay. So I'm going to write that down here. This is the carryover balance for month 2. You could go ahead and put these filled in, since we know that's a fixed new purchase every single month, and this is a fixed monthly payment that they've decided on. So we could go ahead and pre-fill those in. But let's look at our next month. So we're taking that carryover balance, times it by the interest rate of 0.1799, divided by 12. Oops, I timesed. Let's type that in again. So 3904.97 times 0.1799 divided by 12. That's 58.54. Okay, remember we're going to add the carryover balance plus the finance charge, because that's going against their credit card into more debt, essentially, and the $95 charge that happens every month. So that puts us at 4,058.51. Then they're going to make that fixed $250 payment, which puts them at 3,808.51. Notice we have gotten 2 months in. We've already paid them $500, and we've barely not even dropped $200 in debt. And that's because the interest rate and the new purchase that we make every single month, that's just keeping that balance from going down, even though we're making larger payments. Okay. So for the last month, 3,808.51 is the carryover. We're going to times that by the interest rate divided by 12 to get our finance charge, which looks like it's going to be 57.10, because the 5 will bump the 9 up. 57.10. So 3,808.51 plus 57.10 plus 95. That new balance is $3,960.61. They're going to make the fixed $250 payment that they've decided on. That puts us at $3,710.61. So see, by adding that new purchase every single month, plus getting charged, $50 to $60 worth of interest fees, even though they're making a $250 payment, they're making very slow progress on getting this debt down. Okay, I hope you find that helpful.